this episode today because this is really about authenticity, right? Even the art of attraction, I gear it towards dating and I gear it towards, single men. It doesn't have anything to do with any of those things. I chose that demographic almost like as a problem to fix, right? Because the work itself is about becoming more yourself. So when you end up doing the work, you end up with all these benefits that are additional to what you really signed up for. Guys come to me because they're lonely or they don't understand the dating world or they're anxious to approach or, they get nervous around beautiful women, all these sorts of things. But what they really get out of it not only is a stronger sense of self and a fearlessness in approaching women and, the ability to decipher what kind of woman is good for them, what isn't, things like that. They also get this incredible freedom, right? That confidence comes from feeling safe to be themselves. And that is the art of authenticity. And that is the title of this new program, actually. So I went ahead and just called it the art of authenticity. Interestingly, when I started, I didn't really know. I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what the topic was going to be about. I knew, okay, I want to do a 12-week program. Boom. And I started working on it and I was like, this is about authenticity, right? This one really goes straight to the source of every single issue that you have. Because when you have the confidence and the know-how and the wherewithal to be unapologetically and fearlessly yourself, you're unstoppable. I literally just created a video, and the title of this video was the secret to invincible happiness. Because when you access and live in that place, you are incredibly resilient. For me, I used to be the opposite of that. I used to very much be someone whose happiness was outside of me. It's like wearing your organs outside of your body, right? Everybody's a threat. Anything could happen. The ground was always moving underneath me. The negative voices in my head were constant. The self-doubt was constant. And it really got to this point where I didn't even know who I was. And I couldn't find out. Because I didn't know where to start. And it's not like you can just be all like, oh, just be more yourself. Who is that? The first, I'd say 4 weeks of this program that I'm creating now focuses on identifying who your authentic self even is. I had a teacher once who said to me, she said, there are actually 3 yous. There's the you people think you are. There's the you think you are. And there's the you really are. And I was surprised by the second one. Oh, the you people think you are. That makes sense. Yep, the you really are. That makes sense. Oh, the you think you are. I remember thinking, oh, is who I think I am not who I am? When's the last time you checked? Probably hasn't happened recently, right? You probably don't wake up in the morning and ask, who am I today? With an open mind, allowing any answer. Most people don't. They decide who they're going to be based on who they were, and that stunts your growth. I've been seeing a wonderful man. Hi, Phil. Good to see you. I'm coming to you guys live on Facebook Live, so people are checking in. Good to see you. Good to feel you, my friend. I have a friend who I've been seeing, a boyfriend I've been seeing for over a year. And it's really wonderful. It's a fantastic relationship. Everything's great. And just a couple of days ago, I felt the urge to separate for a period of time, right? You know what? I need a couple months of not seeing you. Now, to a lot of people, that might sound super crazy. But to me, the idea of never taking that check in sounds crazy, right? The idea of being with someone year after year and never separating, never taking the space to reconnect to you. Not that you necessarily disconnect from you when you're with another, although I think there is to some extent, there is some of that to some extent, regardless of the relationship. But that you take the time to integrate the changes that have gone on in you in the time since you've been together, right? We've been together for 13 months. I'm a different person now than I was. He's a vastly different person now than he was. So, and you do this or not, but for me, I was like, I want to integrate the changes. I want to come back to myself. Who am I now? Having been in this relationship for this long, who am I now? And to ask that question allows me to, it gives me the space. It's me giving myself the space and permission to be someone new. And if you're ever in a place where you're not, where you don't feel comfortable giving yourself space to be you, then to enter into a space of possibility, right? Then there's a restriction there. There's a refusal to grow. Phil, if you're still listening, would you let me know in the comments if I can reflect the story of you and Beth and what you had to say on the topic, because I thought it was quite inspired. If you are not still listening, then you may not respond. That is fine. So creating that kind of space, it's an emotional space, an energetic space, and it requires separation because it requires focus on you, right? There's a way in which when you're with another person, you can kind of collapse in them a little bit. I certainly do this, where I collapse into my boyfriend a little bit. It's a little bit where I don't really need to stand on my own 2 feet. I'm like, if I don't really have to, and I'm pretty independent, right? But still, so sometimes I'd rather kind of just collapse into you. Thank you so much, Phil. So I wanted to share this because this was a really great learning for me in relationships, and it came from my wonderful and inspired friend, Phil, who is one of the most amazing flautists I've ever met, although he prefers fluter. And and he shared something about his relationship with his wife, and they've been together, I'm gonna say minimum of 30 years, although you're welcome to correct me in the comments, Phil, if you'd like. And he shared something with me one day, and it's actually on my Facebook feed, if you guys are inclined, where he wrote it to me and I copied and pasted it there with his permission. And it's beautiful to read. The gist of it, though, was that, essentially think of it in I would ask, how have you managed to do that to be with one person for happily, lovingly, wonderfully for, 30, 35 years. And he came back with, at every day we wake up and we're willing to lose each other. What does that mean? 37. Thank you. 37 years. That's older than I am, by the way. That's that's longer than I've been breathing. And so it's really about allowing the other person to go, keeping this sort of 0 point expectation of, I'm going to let you be whoever you are. In other words, there's no assumption the next day that you're going to be the same person that you were yesterday. Right. And I'm sure that, a lot of times they do this brilliantly and sometimes it falters, and that's not really the point. The point is it's a way of relating that is completely and fully accepting of the other. So if you are with somebody in a relationship for a couple of years and they start acting really differently, you might be like, who are you now? You're not the same person. That might anger you. That might create fear. That might, cause rifts in your relationship. But if you can give that person the room to be who they are, and you in turn can take the room to be who you are, then you're never projecting onto the other. You are instead staying completely present, and completely able to allow the other to be and to show up in whatever way is best for them. Now, this requires a lot of detachment. And that, I think, is where people struggle, right? Because we love to feel like we're in control. We love it. It's the world's greatest and most widespread illusion, right? We love it. Love it. And yet it is utterly unrealistic. So, to the point where an entire week of the program where I just talk about control, right? I just talk about, how it works, why we need it, how to recognize when you're in it, what to do in that moment to release it, how to get to the place where you don't feel as though you need to control anymore, right? I used to be someone who had to control all the time. I would control by myself, like when I wasn't around anyone. I would be projected out into the future and assuming what was true about da 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 da, da, and I would all of the. It's like so much work, so much work, and I thought I needed to do that because I thought that if I just let life happen, I would die. I wouldn't be safe. So I projected myself out in the future to control what was going to happen to make sure I was going to be okay. And shitty things still happened. Control is an illusion. Okay? That doesn't mean you can't, like, quote, take control of your life, but that's just standing in your power and having an intention and living it out. That's not actually control. We use that. It means the same thing in the language. That's how people want it. So to continuously wake up and be open is such a magical thing. There's a wonderful little book called Mostly True Stories. Andreas, someone is the author, and it's absolutely fantastic. The stories are like a sentence or two long, and there's one about waking up and loving the world all over again every day. And I'm wondering if it's something that I can find for you. Here it is. This is the entire story. It's all on one page. It goes, anyone can slay a dragon, she told me, but try waking up every morning and loving the world all over again. That's what takes a real hero. It's really, really about waking up and being willing to be vulnerable again today. Showing up exactly again today. That is the art of authenticity. I have a whole nother section in there, a whole nother video on the art of showing up. The devastating importance of just showing up. Whether you like the way you're showing up or you don't like the way you're showing up. Are you projecting what other people are going to think of how you're showing up? The question is, can you show up anyway? So today I called this episode The Secret to Radiant Magnetism. Radiant magnetism. Why? Because when you get to that place of resilience, of authenticity, of clarity of self and commitment to self, right? It's not just identifying it, it's continuously connecting to and coming back to. When you find that place, the resilience comes from there. The confidence comes from there. The ability to wake up and let go of the person that you have married, right? To not attach to who they were, to leave them space, which involves letting go of somebody you've committed your life to. So this is not a small thing, right? To wake up every day and love the world all over again, right? That all comes from that place of strength. So what does this have to do with radiant magnetism? Take a deep breath. The secret to radiant magnetism is self-love. That is the only secret, the only trick to it, the only way. It is the way to resilience, to authenticity, to fearlessness, to showing up, to being present, to supporting others, to loving, to being loved. The secret to being wildly attractive when you walk in the room and you light it up is self-love. The secret to finding the friends you want, the relationships you want, the sex you want, the fulfillment, the heart connection, the purpose. Okay? All of this comes from a place of self-love. Okay? If you can love yourself, you are wildly attractive. People are drawn to you because it feels good to be around you, because you're in energetically what's called a space of allowing, which means that you're not fighting reality. You're not pretending that things are okay when they're not, or that things aren't okay when they are. You're not pretending at all. You're not forcing reality to be something that it isn't. You're not collapsing in overwhelm, assuming that you can't handle reality. You are simply being. And in order to be, so being and doing are two different spaces. Okay, doing is active. You are doing a thing. When you are done doing that thing, you will stop doing that thing. You'll probably start doing something else. Being is a place where you can just sit and be with yourself. Okay. Now, you can be with yourself and still do, right? You can be like, oh man, I can't believe that's happening. I'm fixing this, and I'm thinking, and I'm feeling, and I'm doing all these sorts of things. But when you can sit, and this is something you will learn in my program, when you can simply sit with yourself and let yourself be as you are, then you can sit in a state of being. States of being are effortless. Okay, you must be in allowing, because otherwise you're doing things with the energy. You're stopping this because it's uncomfortable. You're, forcing this because you think you need more of it yourself because you're not blank, blank, blank enough, right? But if you can sit in a space of acceptance, you move into this energetically where you're allowing. And allowing just means you're not pushing the energy to do something one or the other, or stopping it in any way, right? You're just letting it do what it wants to do. You're rolling with it. So in that space of allowing, everything frees up. There's no doubt. There's only certainty. There's just beingness. So it's a loose, flowing, effortless way of being. Another thing that, Phil, you are the topic of conversation for this episode. I'm so glad you popped in. One of the things, another powerful moment of learning from Phil. This is why I keep Phil around. Because it was in the beginning, we would hang out. We knew each other through other friends, and so we would see each other from time to time. And then at some point, he sort of approached me directly. He was like, "Hey, we should get lunch sometime. Like, let's hang out and talk." And I was like, "Yeah, let's absolutely do that." And I was in a period of my life where I was like working hard, or I was kind of distracted, or whatever, and we kept kind of making plans to do something, and then I kept sort of falling through, right? Or kind of ended up not happening, or I was kind of like, I'm not in the mood for that right now, whatever. And I had a little guilt around that because I was like, not standing this dude up, like, like if I would say 3:00 and then I just wouldn't show up. But like, he'd like, oh yeah, maybe how about Thursday? And I'd be like, yeah, maybe. Sort of a lot of wishy-washiness. That's just the place I was in, but I wasn't fully accepting of it. And at some point we were having this conversation over, I don't know, Facebook Messenger or something. And I said, I'm sorry that I'm having a hard time, like, stepping into this or committing to this. And he just said, as it flows. And so what happened there is there was a reality, which is that he wanted to get together and I wanted to get together, but there was mixed intentions on my part. I don't know if there were or not. I didn't feel any on his part. And I was arguing with the reality. I was feeling not so great about how I was responding, even though it was my natural response, right? It was all I could do. But I wasn't very forgiving of myself. I wasn't really accepting. So in that way, look, see the small way in which I was arguing with reality. Reality is, I mean, I can't explain it. I don't know why. I think I want to go out with you, but like, boy, I'm just having a hard time, making that happen. That was the reality. Is for the most part, I want to do this, and then part of me maybe doesn't, or whatever, right? So I was not in full acceptance of myself in that moment. And then when he said, as it flows, it gave full permission. So he was in acceptance of me in that space. There was no pressure. Are you hearing this, gentlemen? There was no pressure. There was no judgment or blame or eye rolling or like, God, why can't this girl get her shit together? I was thinking that, but he wasn't. Instead, he managed to create a space of complete acceptance of, well, this is the way it's flowing. So let's just go with that. The magic, you guys, in that is extraordinary. The space that acceptance allowed, I remember it. I remember reading it and going, and nobody had ever said that to me before. I say it all the time now. It is my default. Somebody's just like, oh, I'm sorry I haven't been able to get hold of you. I'm like, as it flows. It'll happen when it happens, or it won't. That's the reality. Now I can sit in that place for myself and for others. But in that moment, he taught me. And it was slight, but it was there. And he taught me. And the forgiveness and the openness, I mean, it was incredibly attractive. It made me want to speak with him. It made me want to go out with him more because he wasn't pushing me or making me feel guilty. I would have let myself be pushed. I've let myself be pushed a lot of times in my life. Because it's like, oh, what am I going to do? You're right. Looks like you're right. They're not right. That I'm being silly. That's just how I'm being. If you don't like that, you don't need to go to lunch with me. He didn't mind. He didn't take it personally. If you've listened to this podcast before, guys, you know about, when you ask a woman out, and this, wasn't a romantic outing, but it's the exact same thing, right? We were looking to meet, to attract each other, right? We were attracted to each other and we were trying to sort of work out the logistics, right? And so he quote asked me out, right? Let's make this an example of as if you're going for a woman that you're wanting to date. You ask her out. Something not ideal is happening on her end. And instead of you coming down with anger or frustration or blame or judgment or turning it inward and being like, oh, she doesn't really want to go out. Oh, I'm making this about me. Oh, God. Another one. See, nobody likes me. Oh, see, I have no self-worth. See, everybody hates me. See, no woman's interested in me. See, I'm not good enough. Okay, you collapse. Your field collapses and you spiral down. And that is the end of your success in that relationship. Done. Okay, because that's not the case. Even her flat out rejecting you has nothing to do with you. Do not take it personally. You take it personally. So you ask, she responds in however way she's going to respond. If you take her response personally, that's on you, right? You can't control her response, but you can control yours. And so what he did there was it was such an adult moment, in a moment when I wasn't even that adult, and he held space and I learned from it and I became more adult through that interaction, right? This is the beauty that can occur in something so simple as giving someone space. I mean, that's the life learning here. It's my podcast. This happened years ago. I wasn't planning on talking about this today, but I saw him, and it's coming into the template of the topic today, right? Radiant magnetism. He was magnetic in his allowing. He was confident in himself. He didn't take my waffling personally. He didn't collapse. He wasn't like, oh God, it's happened again. He didn't make it about him. He didn't even make it about me. He didn't make anything of it. He just sat with what was and released from the results. So this is the secret to this magnetism, okay? Allowing, self-love. He loved himself through that entire interaction, right? And he loved me through that entire reaction, exactly as I was, even just in the sense of acceptance, right? It's a kind of love. He saw me and he allowed me to be as I am, even for more than I was. But he didn't take it personally. He didn't decide it was about him. He didn't decide it was about me. He didn't do anything with it. He kept his energy up. He loved himself. He was going to love himself whether we went out to lunch or not. And we may never have gone out to lunch. He had to fully and completely let go of that eventuality in order to give me the kind of space that he gave me. Right? He couldn't be attached. This is where people lose their magnetism. They're attached to the result. The result isn't about you. The result is an agenda. You can't force people to do things. All you can do is open the door. But the moment you attach, the moment you demand, the moment you make it about you or your story, you attach a story to it. Well, she's too hot, so obviously she's not interested in me. Or, oh, she's talking to somebody else, so obviously she doesn't want to get, she doesn't want me to hit on her. That is just your fear of rejection disguising itself as logic. Because you haven't asked. You're making an assumption about her. Right? He could have made an assumption about me. Phil could have. He could have been like, she's just being polite and she really clearly doesn't want to because it isn't happening. Turns out that actually wasn't true. I was actually quite excited about doing it, but it didn't quite fit. It kept not fitting in my day or my week. And rather than try to force it, he let go. He detached from the result completely as it flows. Let's see. Let's see how it flows. Won't that be fun? He did not make it so that his self-worth was dependent on my answer. That would have created a lot of pressure for me. This is what men always do when they're approaching women, especially men who struggle with confidence, right? Not always, but it's very, very common. Okay. You're attaching your happiness to my response. That's a lot of responsibility for me. First of all, why am I suddenly responsible for your happiness? You're an adult, right? Why are you projecting that onto me? Why are you giving me that power? You've never damn well met me. You just see me across the room. You think I'm attractive. That's it? You're going to give me your power like that? Like, you're not treating yourself very well. What are you thinking? Right? To prioritize a woman you've never met over yourself is not okay. That's not treating yourself well. It sounds crazy when I phrase it that way, and yet it's what almost everybody does. Oh, God, she's too good for... I can't approach her. She's beautiful. What are you, chopped liver? Raise yourself up. Trust yourself. Connect with yourself. Right? When, though, you come in and you love yourself, can you see how that in that interaction, his self image was disconnected from me? Whether or not I said yes or no to lunch had nothing to do with how he feels about himself. So there wasn't that much riding on it, right? It's not that he didn't care. he pursued me in the sense that he stayed in touch with me for quite some time. We would text and we tried to set things up every week for a while there. You know, it wasn't working. Okay, well, I'm fine anyway, but I sure would love to see you. As it flows. The ease of breath that comes with that. So this is incredibly important. Okay. It's incredibly important. It is the difference between success and failure in your dating life and the rest of your life. Notice this wasn't even a dating thing. It was just a beautiful connection of two people. And now I love this man. You know, he's a confidant and a teacher and a very good friend. Right? So there's room for all this beautiful love to happen. And that's because we gave it space to be whatever it wanted to be. And so in that way, you can see how him detaching, right? Practicing non-attachment, that's the key word here, really makes all the difference. It gave me enough room, took the pressure off, and suddenly I had space to be like, yeah, man, I really want to see you. And I think maybe it was the next week or something, we ended up getting together. And we've gotten together a lot since, you know? So it's really beautiful. Okay. So that just really beautifully illustrates, right? How much you can change a situation based on how you feel about yourself. You know, the situation wasn't even about me. He didn't say, okay, I accept you as who you are. He just allowed. Yep, as it flows. And I love that so much that I say it all the time now. So you can see how if you are secure in your self-love, okay, if you are connected to yourself, if you prioritize yourself in a really healthy way and you are grounded and you stand on your own 2 feet and you stay connected to self, you can withstand anything. You're completely resilient and you're wildly attractive because it's joyful to be around you. That's the natural inclination, right? That's the natural response when someone, when someone loves themselves, you want to be around them. It's naturally magnetic. It's authentically magnetic. So not only are you happier, not only are you more confident, not only does your self-esteem go up, not only do you see who you are and you become fearlessly and unapologetically authentic, but people are drawn to you. Right? You're more powerful in the world. Your impact in the world increases significantly because you're letting yourself be seen. That's why you're so much more successful in the dating world, because you're not afraid to show yourself. I have a wonderful client in my program right now, and he is doing this exercise where he's speaking to a woman every single day that's in his dating range. So I think, 25 to 40 or something like that. And so he writes about it every day in our group, in my client group. And every day he's like, okay, here's who I spoke to, and she said this, and he came from a huge amount of fear, and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of questioning. Couldn't speak in crowds and couldn't say no. And I think I may have him on the show. Actually, I think it'd be useful for you guys to hear from him. And through this exercise of just challenging him to speak to a beautiful woman every day, he's not asking them out. He's just chatting with them. And he's been doing it for a couple of weeks, and he's already so much more confident, right? He's so connected to himself. He's so, his happiness is moving inside instead of being dependent on what these women do or say, right? Because you never know what a woman's going to do or say, or another man. You don't know. Could be anything. You can't have your organs outside your body. You must protect them. Okay, this is healthy protection, right? This is a place of okay, I'm responsible for this. I'm not going to wear my heart on my sleeve in that way. It's not safe or fun. It doesn't feel as good. Instead, I'm going to radiate forth and I'm going to take responsibility for my happiness. And then I'm absolutely invincible because I have self-love and nothing will beat that. Right? Nothing can penetrate that because it radiates forth from within. It's invincible. And as you radiate forth from within, you are magnetic. You are radiant. I had someone say that the other day. It was beautiful. I put up some post on Instagram and said, I don't know, some picture of me. And I think I was just smiling or I was really bright or something. You are just radiant. And I thought, that's a result of the work. You know, I've done this work since I was 19, y'all. 19 years old. I was a damn mess. I mean, I was a mess way into my 20s, but from that moment, right, of being 19 and finding this work, I've been fixing shit ever since. You know, I've been adjusting myself. I've been becoming more authentic. I've been challenging my beliefs. I've been looking at all the bullshit that I carry, right? I've gone through all of that stuff. I wasn't born with my shit together. I didn't get my shit together till my 30s. Now I've got it fucking together. And life is so much more fun. I'm confident and radiant, and my life is a lot more effortless. And like some stuff kind of still comes and goes. Like there are some issues, but a lot of days there aren't. Like most days, I have no issues at all. Really, vastly most days. And the days when I do, it's like not a big deal, you know? Everything is, because I'm so much more resilient, it's so much easier. Life is so much easier. It's so much more fun. I'm so confident. I hold boundaries so well. I will say no if the answer is no. That was something I didn't do until I was probably 25. Maybe later. Didn't set any boundaries, ever. Because I thought that if I set a boundary, it would mean I didn't love the person that I was setting it with. And that is not true at all. Right? So with this self-love, like what is changed? I love myself now. I give myself permission to be who